You guys know 2023 so far has been a massive year for free-to-play games, including tons of awesome free-to-play games for different game genres like first-person shooters, action-adventure games, casual games, and the list goes on. So before we wrap up this year guys, in today's video we're gonna looking back some of the best free-to-play shooter games to released in 2023, including both first-person shooters and third-person shooters. Honestly, we got some pretty popular titles as well as some hidden indie gems to check out in our today's video. So without further ado guys, let's get right into it. Alright, starting with the super fun, super casual single-player first-person shooter called Fish Gun. It's an extremely simple, chaotic first-person shooter where you simply have to take down all the evil fruits who has taken over this drained ocean, and you got a super awesome fish gun where you can take down these evil fruits. Along the way, you will get different upgrades, different ammo types. Extremely simple but super addictive first-person shooter. Right now having more than 290 plus reviews on Steam, and they are very positive. So definitely a fun game to try out whenever you have a free time. Next up, we got a pretty underrated multiplayer first-person shooter called Project Hardline. Definitely not the most popular game on our today's list, but it's a super cool looking casual indie developed first-person shooter with a pretty nice polygon-like art style, which is something I really appreciate. But the last time I checked out the game, honestly there wasn't enough player numbers to play the game, but right now the game is having close to like 100 reviews and they are very positive on Steam, so hopefully more players will jump back into the game and try it out, and the system requirements are also very much acceptable as well. Moving on to our next game, we got a pretty similar style of a first-person shooter called The Rifleman. Another pretty awesome indie developed low poly style first-person shooter, but this time representing the World War II with classic bolt action rifles, tons of customization and unique game modes. After the initial release in September, the game did receive a bunch of major updates, which is pretty nice to see, but I really like to see a bunch of new maps and new game modes added to the game. Hopefully we will receive something like that in the future. Right now having more than 300 plus reviews on Steam and they are mostly positive, so if you're looking for a casual first-person shooter to play whenever you have a free time, definitely worth checking it out. Despite having pretty mediocre reviews on Steam, World Boss is another pretty awesome fast-paced first-person shooter to come out in 2023, and the game was actually developed by a YouTuber called Laserbeam. It's a free-to-play arena-style first-person shooter where you can play with up to 14 other players, and your simple goal is to take them down and gaining points and go higher in the leaderboard. You can choose your unique loadout with different weapons like assault rifles, SMGs, sniper rifles, and you can loot for ammo, different upgrades and medical items which you can find everywhere on the arena. It's a nice little first-person shooter, but I definitely want to see more game modes and more variety to the gameplay, and the time to kill is also somewhat higher comparing with some of the other first-person shooters. Other than that, it's a pretty solid first-person shooter that you definitely want to try out in 2023. Moving on from first-person shooter to a very unique third-person shooter called Blaster Beat, which is honestly a very unique game, something that I haven't played before. It's a free-to-play multiplayer rhythm-based third-person shooter, meaning you shoot your weapon sync with the beat of the music, which is honestly quite innovative. There is tons of musical tracks to select with different BPMs, and it's definitely gonna take some time to get used to shoot your weapons with the perfect sync with the music. Right now the game is having close to like 500 reviews on Steam and they are very positive. System requirements are also very much acceptable as well. At number 10 spot we got Micro Volts Recharge, another pretty cool arena style third-person shooter filled with anime characters, tons of goofy weapons and very fun maps. The game modes are pretty similar to each other, mostly team deathmatch style game modes. There is also a separate server browser where you can join custom games and easily search for your favorite maps and game modes. Selection of weapons is pretty awesome right now, having 7 different categories, including some goofy ones like rocket launchers, miniguns, and some overpowered sniper rifles. Pretty cool stuff overall. Overall, it's a super cool game, definitely a nice addition to your free-to-play game collection. Despite having mixed reviews on Steam, Veiled Expert is a game that I really enjoy this year, and this is coming from someone who really prefer first-person shooters over third-person shooters. Anyway, it's a free-to-play round-based tactical third-person shooter with different agents, different abilities, and if you ever played games like Raw Company, this game is very much similar to that, but unfortunately right now this game is on a pretty disappointing stage. After the initial hype with the launch, the popularity with the game is kind of died out over the last few months, and they're probably going to close out the servers very soon for this game, which is extremely unfortunate, but I feel like I wanted to mention this game on our today's list because it's a game that I actually enjoyed this year, and it's pretty sad to see the game is going down like that. Next up, we got probably the most funniest game on our today's list, and that is the Grapples Galore. I mentioned this game very recently on my previous month free-to-play game video, and it's a free-to-play physics-based arena style shooter where you simply grapple around using your grappling hook and just try to take down other enemies using your rocket launcher. It's a pretty easy to play, beginner-friendly pick up and play type of a game. There is absolutely nothing serious here, just pure chaotic shooter. All you gotta do is just use the grappling hook and just try to time your jumps. Extremely fun game overall, definitely worth checking out in my opinion. Initial release in January, Treason is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed this year. Even though we can categorize it as a first-person shooter, I would say it's more like a mystery detective investigation style of a game, and definitely a very unique game at that. In this game, we got two groups of players, and they are innocent and traitors. Start of each round, there is a dead body on the ground, and as innocents, you have to look for clues and find out who's behind the murderer, and as traitors, you and your team has to take out all the innocents before they find out what's going on. It's a very unique game, but you might say it's somewhat similar to something like Among Us. Yes, the concept is similar, but this is a round-based game, so the decision will always go back and forth. The game is actually pretty popular on Steam. The most recent reviews are overwhelmingly positive, which is incredible, and the system requirements are also pretty low specs friendly as well. 1v1.lol is a super casual Fortnite style third-person shooter, which definitely came as a surprise for me at least, and it is something I wasn't expected to see on Steam. The game was initially released as a browser game, but after the game released on Steam, it got so much positive feedback and pretty decent concurrent player numbers as well, and it feels like a game that took all the fun parts in Fortnite and put it together, especially the building mechanics, the gunplay, the weapons, and the battle royale mode as well. Pretty fun and pretty casual. If you're a fan of Fortnite, man, you're definitely going to enjoy this game. Alright, moving on to top 5 spot, we cannot forget about Overwatch 2 as well, despite having 200,000 plus mostly negative reviews on Steam. Yes, the game had tons of critical issues with the game when it comes to gameplay design, the monetization, and the performance, but for someone like me who haven't really played the game more competitively or haven't really played a whole lot of Overwatch even with the previous game, I would say you can definitely enjoy the game more casually without complaining any of these issues, but it's all depend on the personal preference. If you're in for a super hardcore military simulation style tactical first-person shooter, there's literally only one free-to-play alternative on the Steam, and that is the Operation Harsh Doorstop. Yes, this type of simulation style first-person shooters are definitely not for everyone, especially if you are coming from more casual games like Call of Duty, but this is one of the most impressive projects that I've seen recently, and was developed and published by the YouTuber BlueDrake42 and his community, and the game represents tons of factions, modern day wars, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, including classic weapons and modern day weapons, and tons of different mod supports to the game, which is awesome. Hands down one of the most unique sandbox style shooters out there, definitely worth checking out in 2023. Moving on to number 3, we got everyone's absolutely favorite first person shooter right now, and that is the Combat Masters. I usually get tons of comments on my videos about this game, especially if you're someone who got a pretty low-end system and expecting some sort of a AAA first person shooter experience like Call of Duty. This is the game you should definitely play on. It's basically a low budget version of Call of Duty with pretty much same weapons, same movement mechanics, same gunplay, same progression system, but I have seen a lot of recent reviews saying that the game has a lot of cheaters and hackers nowadays. I'm not sure that's the case because I haven't really played the game pretty recently, but nevertheless it's a pretty fun fast-paced first-person shooter that you definitely want to try out, especially if you have a low-end system. Moving on to number 2, we got probably one of my favorite third-person shooters released on this year, and that is the Caliber. It's a free-to-play team-based tactical third-person shooter which heavy focus on the 5v5 round-based gameplay combining with a pretty unique class system. Right now there are 4 different class systems in the game, including Assault, Support, Medic, and Marksman, and the game also got your typical PvP game modes and a pretty decent collection of maps to choose from. But on top of that, the game also got a surprisingly good co-op game mode where you can play with your friends in more of a single player style missions, which is definitely a nice addition to the gameplay. It's definitely one of the most solid third-person shooters to release on this year, having more than 15,000 plus reviews, and they are mostly positive on Steam. Minimum system requirements are also very much acceptable as well. Alright, before moving on to the number 1 spot, guys, we gotta mention a couple of games that we had the chance to try out this year but still haven't fully released, starting with the games like X-Defined, super fast-paced arcade style shooter like Call of Duty, developed by Ubisoft. Hopefully the game will be available by the end of this month or the early 2024. Next up, we got The Finals, a very unique arena style first-person shooter with completely destructible environment. Definitely my favorite first-person shooter to play this year, and hopefully we will get more info about the upcoming release date pretty soon. Alright, at number 1 spot, we we got surprisingly a battle royale game, and that is the Fallout 84. This game is definitely stand out as a free-to-play battle royale game, especially in an era where battle royales are kind of dried out right now, and the people who only play battle royale games are sticking to games like PUBG, Fortnite, or Apex Legends. But Fallout 84 is definitely a welcome addition to the list. Yes, visually and the gameplay wise, the game took a lot of inspiration from the popular games like Fortnite, but hands down the most unique part of this game is the vehicular combat and different type of robotic vehicles that you can drive around. Not only for the traversal, you can also fight with them, which is pretty awesome. The game is honestly pretty popular right now on Steam, having close to like 20,000 daily concurrent players, and the system requirements are also pretty low specs friendly. You can definitely play this game with a low-end system. Well, that's pretty much sums up today's video, guys, and I hope you guys find some awesome shooter games that come out in 2023, and also let me know down below what is your favorite shooter game to release on this year and what games did you enjoy the most. Finally, guys, if you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and drop a like and also subscribe and stay tuned for more content like this, because we cover tons of free-to-play games and more videos like this will be coming out pretty soon. I'll catch you guys soon in my next video. Stay safe.